Every 10 years, 96% of contractors go out of business. Why? Because they're fighting the wrong battles. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why so many fail, the 5 stages every contractor goes through, and how to beat the cycle. If you don't watch this video to the end, you're going to get stuck at some point in one of the 5 cycles. You're going to burn out, you're going to quit, and you're probably going to end up working for one of my clients. So I've seen good contractors lose everything. I mean, not because they weren't skilled, but because they didn't understand what stage they were in and they were fixing the wrong problem. I've lived it. I've been broke, I've been stressed, I've almost lost everything. But the thing is, if you know the real constraint at your stage, you win. If you don't, you get crushed. And I'm gonna show you why. So there are 5 stages in a bonus stage. Stage 1 is 0 to $1 million. Stage 2 is 1 million to 2 million. Stage 3 is 2 million to 3 million, and this is where Death Valley begins, where most contractors fail. Stage 4 is 3 million to 4 million. Once you crack 4, you're out of Death Valley. You're now in paradise, otherwise known as California. And then step 5 is 4 to 8 million, and then step 6 is 8 to 15. Beyond 15, I don't know, because I've never done it myself, and I'm not gonna bullshit you. So let's break down the challenges you'll face by stage and what the fix is. Phase 1, 0 to $1 million. The main constraint here is you don't have any money and you don't have any time. And you're working 60 hours a week to earn the same compensation as if you were a commercial project manager working for somebody else. It sucks. The focus here is business development. It's developing relationships that can bring you business. You want one customer type, one project type, and one referral source. And word of mouth ain't it. Okay, that is boomer talk. Word of mouth is gonna take you 20 to 30 years. So if you wanna be like the 96% of contractors that fail and get stuck at phase 1, do good work and hope people tell other people about it. For me, if this was me as a residential general contractor, it comes down to interest rates. When interest rates are high, people don't buy custom homes and they don't do kitchen and bath remodel. They don't spend money on luxuries. They spend money on needs. And when interest rates are high, sure, they may need a bigger house. It makes a lot more sense for them to simply borrow from their 401k and add on to their house than it is to trade their 2% mortgage for a 7% mortgage, because they're never gonna see 2% again. Now, when interest rates are low, custom homes explode and kitchen and bath explode. Part of getting out of phase 1 is not being so rigid about the project type you do, but specializing in a customer class. Are you just starting out? Well, then you probably wanna work with investors. Do you have a track record? Then you wanna go the complete opposite end and work with the super rich, the top 1%ers, the people that are paying cash and pay a premium for not being hassled and getting what they want. There is no money in the middle. The middle class is where contractors go to die, because everybody is doing a little bit more for a little bit less. They're nowhere near as profitable as the guys that optimize for volume working for investors, and they can't compete for the luxury projects because they don't have the money to play that game up there. It's understanding where you're at, what your track record is, picking the ideal customer type for you that is going to bring you the most gross profit in a year, and then figure out who is the #1 referral source that can bring you that business. So if you're in the investor class, that's realtors to network you with other investors. If you're going in the luxury market, it's designers to then work your way into architects for the really big jobs. But that's how you get out of 0 to 1 million. Just focus on getting that one relationship, and that will get you out of phase 1. Phase 2, guys, 1 to 2 million. The constraint here is you got a little bit of money, but you have no time. You're working 80 hours a week to get the profit for you to hire and train your first executive level hire that will give you your time back. And the focus here, the way you beat that constraint, is by putting your focus on sales at 1 to 2 million. Nothing else matters. I don't want you to fall into what I call the Pelosi trap. And in the Pelosi trap, you're a $1 million contractor who geeks out on systems and procedures when you should be out selling. You're at 1 to 2 million, bro. You are one contractor. You don't need systems. You are the system. What you need is profit that comes from sales so that you have money to hire a person to then give systems to. I'm gonna walk that all back for a second. You do need a system. You don't need all systems, you just need a system. And that is your sales system. It's how are we going to sell our target customer type at a 10% net post-tax profit. That's after you pay yourself, that's after you pay your bills, it's after you pay your material, it's after you pay it's after freaking everything, including paying yourself, what you would have paid somebody else to do your job for you. Okay, I still want to see 10% left over after you pay your taxes. So I'm being really cryptic here. Let's say you're a general contractor, that magic number is 37% gross profit. Because at 37% gross profit after your overheads and your taxes, you're gonna net about 10 points. So if we're just starting out and we're working with investors, then we need to figure out a very, very fast and accurate estimating system. Because for these investors, time is more important than price. Because the longer it takes for you to get them a number, the more it costs them to hold this project. Or the longer it takes for you to get them a number, the more likely they're gonna lose the deal that they're trying to buy. Speed is freaking everything on the low end working with investors. The luxury side, it's not speed, it's certainty. It is proving that number one, you're gonna finish this project on time, proving that you're gonna give them exactly what they want, and proving they don't have to babysit you like every other employee they have to babysit. To get out of 2 million, you need a repeatable process that's optimized for speed on the low end or certainty on the high end, and just rip it. Like get as many reps as you can in a day. The more offers you make, the more money you make. And that's why we have to have a standardized system. That way we know where this thing's breaking down. Does that make sense? Let's move on to phase 3. Okay, so phase 3, at this point, guys, you have your business development system rocking and rolling that's feeding you people that are referring you business. You have your sales process built that's optimized specifically for the problem set related to the customer that's being referred to you. So now your constraint is giving up a huge chunk of money to your very first A player, like executive level hire. Your focus here needs to be recruiting, training, onboarding, and managing an A player in this first role. If you don't get an A player in this first role, you're gonna go back a phase because you're gonna end up outlaying this cash to this person. They're gonna, and then you're gonna have to spend even more energy, number one, managing them, and then fixing their stuff, and then firing them. I forget where I read this. I think it was like a Harvard Business Journal study. But everybody you hire that you later fire, it's gonna cost you at least 1.5 times their annual salary in cash and lost opportunity to replace them. At this point, you're a $2 million business, and to hire a quality project manager, to hire a quality sales rep, it's gonna start at 100 grand. And so can you afford to burn $150,000 learning? I hope not. I mean, $150,000 was your entire profit from the year before in phase 2. Okay, so the stakes are really high right now. And for a lot of guys, they never get out of this phase because they realize in phase 3, 2 to 3 million, they're making as much money as they were in phase 1, but now with 3 times the risk, because revenue is risk, and with twice the headache, because you have an employee. By focusing on having a great system in place for whoever you're hiring, and then holding them accountable. What do I mean by that? Every job, every role inside your company, we can tie to the manufacturer of gross profit. Like, if, for example, a receptionist. I know if that receptionist calls back the leads within 5 minutes, it's going to increase our appointment rate, our lead to appointment rate, by 361%. So as long as Brenda responds to every lead within 5 minutes, we will grow the business by 3.6 times. That affects gross profit, doesn't it? So we want to figure out what is that one thing that we can measure and how does that impact gross profit? One thing. And then from there, we design their compensation to where 25 to 30% of their on-target earnings, which is that compensation package you advertised on Indeed, 25 to 30% of that number is tied to a grid based on that number, right? So for example, let's say if it was Brenda, answering leads within 5 minutes. And let's say she's a receptionist, we're paying her $60,000 a year, and we set up a $20,000 bonus for a total compensation package of $80,000. and we break that compensation package up into $5,000 quarterly bonuses. In this overly simplified example, it'd be like when Brenda responds to over 90% of the leads within 5 minutes, she gets the full bonus. And let's say, and at 80%, let's say she gets 4,000. And at 70%, she gets 3,000. And then below 70%, she gets fired. See what we did there? Carrot and stick. That's accountability. Make sense? Moving on. Okay, so now we're in phase 4. We're 3 to 4 million. You entered into what I call Death Valley at the beginning of phase 3, and it doesn't end until you clear phase 4, which is about 4 million. So from 2 to 4 million, that's where 96% of contractors will go to die every 10 years. And your main constraint here, 3 to 4 million, is time. You've hired your first A player, they're onboarded, they're trained, they're kicking ass, they're being held accountable. You and your first hire are working 60 to 80 hours a week. You guys are making more money than you've ever seen. But the problem is neither you nor that hire have the time to train, onboard, and manage the second hire, because you're gonna need to take some of that money to make your next hire so that you can buy back more time to go make more sales. We're department by department installing A players until the business doesn't need you. And that's gonna happen in the next phase. So your focus here needs to be systems and automation for the 9 core functions of your contractor. That's lead generation, lead nurture, sales, design, estimating, pre-construction, build, money management, and talent management. So this phase sucks because you're rocking and rolling, selling your face off, you're estimating your face off, you're managing your design relationships to make sure, number 1, that you're getting referrals, and number 2, that those construction plans aren't gonna bankrupt you and build because they're not accurate. The only way out at this phase, the only way out I found, I'm just gonna go ahead and give you the free chicken. If there's one thing this video you take away, it's this right here. In this phase, when you're stuck, you know you need to do more, but you don't have time. What you need to do is go hire an architect from the Philippines who has worked with American, Canadian, and Australian general contractors. You're gonna pay that guy $10 to $15 an hour, maybe 20, and his only job is to write your specs, get your quantities, get your takeoffs, estimate your rough material, estimate the production time for each spec, and then build your selections checklist, right? That alone is gonna save you 15 hours per project. Let's say you full-time at this stage, you're probably spending 30 hours a week designing and estimating to support your sales. So by you hiring this $10 to $15 per hour contractor, you're gonna be able to double your business because you're gonna get those 30 hours back, and where are you gonna invest it? Into more relationships, into more sales. If I was making like this an engineering algorithm for you, this would be step 4A. Hire your rough estimator, which is like a Filipino architect. You're gonna get back about 30 hours of your time. And then from there, take that 30 hours per week, and I want you to spec out all 9 systems in your business. And then once you have all those master systems, you then start assigning tasks from each of those systems to each employee. And you don't stop until your entire org chart of employees, either to be hired or hired, is covering down on every task in your system. And the reason why is most contractors will write these big, beautiful systems that don't actually get executed because they're not assigned to anybody and they're not held accountable for executing those systems. Like, for example, my personal accountability system for my employees, every employee is measured on their adherence to SOP. That way I'm not wasting my time writing these big, beautiful systems that don't get followed. I measure them on their production quota, kind of like Brenda's percentage of leads called back within 5 minutes. I measure them on work ethic, on preparedness, and attitude and coachability. And so their bonus is based off those 5 pillars. Pro tip, when you've written your systems, make sure that every task in those systems is lined out, not to a person, but to a job. People come and go. The roles don't change. Make sense? And then from there, once you've got it assigned, make sure that your employees are financially held accountable for following those systems. Now that combined with phase 4B, once your systems are built, your accountability system is updated, now I want you to take those 30 hours a week and go get more relationships because you need to sell your face off to get above 4 million. Make sense? Let's move on to the next phase. So now we're at phase 5. This is 4 to 8 million. Your constraint here is money, and here is why. As fast as you're making it, you're investing it back in the company. This game, what you're doing is you are hiring A players and installing them to run each of your 9 core functions that we outlined earlier. Your ideal $8 million contractor has an in-house estimator / design director and has a construction director. The estimator design director is pumping out the estimates and managing your external design relationships. The construction director is managing schedules, is managing logistics, and managing your project managers in the field who are managing project quality. You have 2 to 4 project managers because every project manager by themselves can do about 2.5 million per year. And I'm using GC numbers here, but there's 50 working weeks in the year, and everybody can handle about 5 active jobs at any given time. And the reason why is your PMs need to visit every job site every day. There's only 8 hours in a working day, so 5 jobs. What I have found to be true, that even the most sloppy general contractor out there can finish about $10,000 worth of project scope per job per week. Okay, so $10,000 times 50 weeks times 5 jobs, 2.5 million. Your #1 constraint is always gonna be project managers because it takes 6 months to hire and onboard them. The most expensive hire you'll ever make because the amount of time you have to invest in them. And then every one of them is only good for about 2.5 million, unless you add what I call a logistics manager or a superintendent. So in the ideal $8 million setup, for example, Noble Solid Service. Probably one of my absolute favorite clients. He was client #2, Kyle Bridgen. I went from $500,000 in debt to making millions as a 30-year-old kid. Kyle acts as the estimator design director. He has hired a construction director. His construction director serves as a project manager, and he has a full-time project manager. He also has a logistics manager. The logistics manager's job is to do the computer work for the PMs, because I found that the most expert project manager out there, they're like cavemen when it comes to computers. Like, you put a computer in them and they turn into like a 3rd grader. It's crazy. As my favorite project manager, Lonnie, over at Noble once told me, he said, "Lane, I don't do thumbs. I'm old school. I'm gonna speak to you face to face or I'm gonna write it down. I don't do thumbs." I'm like, okay, we need to hire a Gen Z to take care of you, pal. So yeah, that's why we have this Gen Z logistics manager, Chloe, and her only job is to make sure that the material that is needed the next day is delivered. That's her only job. And then to find out from the project manager what was accomplished today. Are we on track or off track? If we're off track, what is the plan to get back on track? What is the impact of this solution? And what do you need that you don't have? That's a job log. We have a superintendent. That's a tool bag wearing, like, master craftsman, many different trades. For every 2.5 million we do, we have a superintendent. And sometimes they work together as a task force to go to jobs that are going sideways to get them back on track. Other times they're punching out jobs because I don't have my subs do their own punch list. I'll explain that why in a different video. So all in, so for every PM that you have in the field, that's 2.5 million. Unless you have a logistics manager, then that PM can do 5. And for every 2.5 million, we have a tool bag wearing superintendent, like master craftsman. And then we have a construction director and we have a design estimator. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 core employees to do 8 million a year. Point is, you fire yourself from half the company. You make sure that you have 2 PMs in place. Once you have 2 PMs in place, you have an LM. When you have that LM, you backfill by adding a superintendent. Then you hire another PM. Then you hire another superintendent. And now you have an $8 million company. Yeah, that's how you go from 4 to 8 million. I actually have a bonus phase for you. Phase 6. This is 8 to 15 million. This is the fun part. This is where you get to be Jeff Bezos, is time. And your focus here needs to be culture, because now you have 1 to 2 layers of management between you and the front lines of people that are interfacing with your customers. And customers are not just the people that are paying you. Your subcontractors are your customers. Your designers and architects who refer you business are your customers. The customer is your customer. All these people need something from you, and it doesn't work unless you deliver. Here at 8 million, this is when you need to hire that general manager to run your day-to-day so that you can mentor your construction director, your design director, and your sales, so that they are aligned with your vision, your mission, and your values, so that you don't dilute the secret sauce that made your company successful to begin with. So guys, once you know the stage, scaling becomes simple. You stop fighting ghosts and you start fixing the real constraint. So guys, do me a favor, drop your revenue stage in the comments. Just tell me your revenue stage and I'll tell you your #1 focus you should be working on right now. And if you want to know how I scaled from 0 to $1 million in 90 days with just $100, watch my next video right here.